Uttar Pradesh government has called the disputed site in Sambhal to be a public land. In fact, the Uttar Pradesh government has now claimed that the situation is peaceful, and there's also a claim that the Muslim side is trying to disrupt the peace in the area. Now, the Supreme Court has issued a notice on a plea by the Masjid Committee seeking directions to the district magistrate in Sambhal to ensure that status quo is maintained with respect to the private well that is situated near the stairs and entrance of the mosque. The Supreme Court has also directed in the meanwhile that the respondent district administration not to give effect to the notice in respect of that well. Ananya joins us for more on this. Ananya, over to you. Give us more details. What are you hearing from the Supreme Court about the disputed land and also about the entire area?
Well, definitely, the Supreme Court was hearing the batch of petitions with regards to, the disputed site in Sambhal, which is said to be the Jama Masjid by the Muslim side, while it is stated to be Kalki Temple and ASI protected monument by the UP government and the authorities along with the Hindu side itself. So very clearly at this particular point of time, the UP government has gone on to say clearly that it is a public land that is there, and that well too is a part of that public land itself. However, the Muslim side claims that this well is a part of that particular mosque, though it is half inside and half outside of that particular mosque site. However, the UP government also went on to say today that the Muslim side is trying to disrupt the peace by making such arguments before the court of law, and that is something that the UP government's represented by Additional Solicitor General K.M. Natarajan went on to say. And very clearly at this particular point of time, the war of words is already underway. We've seen how violence had taken place at Sambhal and how the matter also reached the Supreme Court and the Allahabad High Court. So very clearly the Supreme Court has now kept the matter for the 21st of February, has asked for a status report to be filed and has directed that no, the status quo shall be maintained as far as the well is concerned. If you remember, the Nagar Palika had recently given out a circular wherein worship rights were granted regarding that particular well, which is said to be one of the temples. And very clearly, at this particular point of time, nothing can actually happen. The Supreme Court has directed for a status quo, but the UP government coming out in open and very clearly pointing out that it is a public land and the Muslim side is trying to disrupt the peace. If you remember, the Archaeological Survey of India,
Ananya, kindly stay on with me. Fakrul Chand from the Samajwadi Party is also joining us. Fakrul Chand ji, thank you so much for speaking to CNN News 18. हमें अभी खबर आई है from the Supreme Court that ये जो well का मामला है in Sambhal, the mosque authorities had been arguing कि it should not be opened, it will disrupt the peace and calm, and right now Supreme Court ने ये कहा है कि status quo should be maintained and next date of hearing should be on the 21st. आपको क्यों लगता है कि मुस्लिम अथॉरिटीज बार-बार ये कह रही है कि अगर इस वेल को खोला जाएगा पूरी पीस खराब हो जाएगी एरिया में?
नहीं, देखिए, अब जब माननीय सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने वहाँ स्टेटस को कर दिया है जी, तो कुछ न कुछ पेपर या कुछ ऐसे एविडेंस जो है माननीय सुप्रीम कोर्ट में एक दूसरे पक्ष ने फाइल किए होंगे, तो समाजवादी पार्टी समझती कि शांति बनी रहे, उसके लिए जो भी कदम है वो प्रशासन को भी उठाने चाहिए। और माननीय सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने एक पक्ष के जो याचिका दाखिल की थी उस पर स्टेटस को कर दिया है, तो माननीय सुप्रीम कोर्ट जब इस पूरे मामले को देख रहा है तो समाजवादी पार्टी समझती कि जो सही होगा वो देश की अदालत से वो फैसला आएगा।
जी फखरुल जी, उत्तर प्रदेश गवर्नमेंट ने अभी कहा है कि जो संभल का डिस्प्यूटेड लैंड है, अभी भी टेंशन काफ़ी है उस एरिया में, मगर वो कह रहे हैं कि अब वो पब्लिक लैंड है और अभी जो सिचुएशन है वहाँ पर बिल्कुल अंडर कंट्रोल है और सब पीसफुल है। डू यू अग्री विद दैट?
देखिए, सवाल ये है कि जो माननीय सुप्रीम कोर्ट है, अगर जिस लैंड को लेके, जिस डिस्प्यूट को लेके एक पक्ष का न्यायालय गया था, अगर उसका स्टे कर दिया है तो फिर तो फैसला सुप्रीम कोर्ट को करना है, अदालत में है। सरकार का क्या पक्ष है वो सरकार ने अपना सुप्रीम कोर्ट में रखा, लेकिन उसके बाद भी माननीय सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने अगर उस पूरे मामले को स्टे कर दिया है तो समाजवादी पार्टी समझती, क्योंकि ये मामला न्यायालय में है, इसलिए अब जो भी न्यायालय फैसला करेगा सभी पक्षों को उसका सम्मान करना चाहिए।
जी फखरुल जी, thank you so much for speaking to CNN News 18. Ananya, I wanted to ask you that the mosque authorities have been arguing that opening the private well inside the Shahi Jama Masjid for Hindus to offer their prayers is going to disturb the harmony in the area. It will disturb the peace. To that, what did the other side say in court?
Well, the UP government today told the court very clearly that, there is no kind of a law and order situation that is erupting in fact, Sambhal at this particular point of time, it is under the control of the UP government. However, the Muslim side itself, by making such arguments, is trying to disrupt the peace and harmony in the area, and that is an attempt that is being made to disrupt the peace there. But very clearly, a very important submission that comes up, Avantika, from the the UP government's end is that it is a public land. It is in fact a public property, because if you remember, in the district court itself, the Archaeological Survey of India had stated before the district court in a very detailed affidavit how this particular site, which is being claimed by the Muslim side to be a mosque, is actually a ASI protected monument since the 1920, even when the Places of Worship Act did not even have a virtue. It was only in 1991, post 1991, that this act was actually brought in, and the cutoff date was 1947, and even before 1947, 15th of August, it was a ASI protected monument. So Archaeological Survey of India clearly pointing out that it was such a situation that their officers were not even able to get inside, and whenever they wanted to do so, there was a massive outrage against them, and that is why the ASI could not keep control of that particular monument. So very clearly, the Supreme Court would be considering all of those aspects and would be taking a decision with regards to Sambhal. But at this particular point of time, the UP government clearly pointing out that it's a public land, while the Supreme Court has also issued a notice on, in fact, the petition that has been filed by the Muslim side seeking, possession of that particular warehouse, saying that status quo shall be maintained. The Supreme Court is directed for a status quo at this particular point of time, asking the UP government and the other parties to actually file a status report with regards to this. And now what happens is something that only the time can tell us when the matter is again heard on the February 21st, before the top of the country.
I just wanted to ask you something, Ananya. Just explain this to us, that the court-ordered survey had already taken place. The Allahabad High Court, in fact, had sought a response from the government and from the ASI. But is it true that for now the Supreme Court, which is also hearing challenges to the Places of Worship Act, has halted all proceedings related to the ownership disputes across the country?
Well, definitely, the Supreme Court, which is in a different matter, hearing a challenge to the Places of Worship Act 1991, has actually stayed all kinds of proceedings across, all the courts, and even the new suits that are to be filed. There will not be no kind of a coercive orders or a final order can actually be passed. However, the Supreme Court, if at all, would be, because it is the same bench, though the 3 judges bench headed by the Chief Justice of India is hearing a challenge to the Place of Worship Act. Another 2 judges bench headed by the Chief Justice of India himself is hearing this Sambhal violence matter. So if at all an order comes in from the Supreme Court with regards to the Advocate Commissioner Service, because that would only happen after the Allahabad High Court actually decided it, and what happens next in the Places of Worship Act, all of it would have bearing on all these disputes, whether it's Sambhal, whether it's the Gyanvyapi or the Krishna Janmabhoomi case. But at this particular point of time, with regards to that particular which is under a dispute again.
Absolutely. Ananya, just kindly stay on with me. Anila Singh from the BJP is also joining us. Anila ji, thank you so much once again for speaking to CNN News 18. Your thoughts about a big assertion coming in from the Uttar Pradesh government? They've said that that disputed land is a public land and that the situation is under control. I spoke to Fakhrul Chand from the Samajwadi Party. The matter still remains status quo, despite the fact that the Muslim authorities claim that opening of the well and for Hindus to go there to offer prayers will disturb the area. Your thoughts on the same?
My Ram to all. And when disruption happened, it happened in between the police administration and the Muslim community. It was not in between the Muslim and Hindu. But it doesn't mean that you are going to curb the rights of the Hindu, which they have and which constitution gives them. And they have got all the right to know the historical mistakes which had been done to them. So why this particular community, which has got advocates in the form of Samajwadi Party, Congress, and etc., because 99% political parties are advocating for them, they come up and they say, no, peace and harmony will be disturbed. If peace and harmony will be disturbed by any of the action which has been taken, or the report which is submitted by the ASI and others, then please go and tell this religious community to cooperate with all the people who are trying to search something, investigate something, inquire something. You think that if you are going to stand with a placard and playing victim card, Hindus are going to sit calmly? All responsibilities are on the shoulders of the Hindus only. Others are not going to share it. This is high time. Hindus are awakened and they are going to seek their rights.